You already know what it is, man. This is T Paris, aka the Young Marvin Gaye. This rap shit, most original, most creative, most in tune with the times, and I'm sort of like your inspiration. And this is P's Perspective, the recap. But let's not waste no time. Let's get right into it, ladies and gentlemen. This week our topic of discussion came by way of email. I want to give a shout out to Just Right, hip hop artist out of Brooklyn. He sent us the email. He said, P, I was just thinking about a segment about the term keeping it real, as far as what we as individuals think real is and what society deems to be real. It's a lot of pressure to be yourself in a world where a certain image or view of you can alter your life. I think people have lost touch of what's authentic because it's not marketable or doesn't bring in the money that propaganda does. If I could just, add on, this week we, spoke about hip hop and the whole culture of hip hop and how it's birthed a lot of different energies, a lot of different themes, just, a lot of different ways for us to express ourselves. And something that came from hip hop that I wanted to touch on was just the term keeping it real. And just in the beginning, we said that the term was basically just our way of kind of like representing ourselves, being true to oneself collectively. We used it to speak out about things that we felt uncomfortable about, societal injustices, express our feelings. And as America, got a hold of the whole term, keeping it real, and just the whole culture of hip hop, money started becoming, prevalent. I think that the term itself changed. I like to think that a lot of people growing up in the struggle that we, know as poverty, people haven't had, the luxury of, spending a lot of money, uncontrollably, having whatever they want whenever they want. And so when the opportunity, to gain financially, comes into play, a lot of people, lose a sense of self. And what I mean by that is people change for the almighty dollar. And, America made it so that, keeping it real was something that they would pay you for, to see how real you would get. And in doing so, a lot of people just kind of, threw common sense out the window and just, went away with the whole term of just keeping it real. Everything was just about keeping it real. But I like to say this, as I went over the comments and just the feedback from this episode, I noticed that a lot of the feedback came from our elders, and I think it was a reason for that. I think that, my peers, a lot of my generation, have a difficult time looking in the mirror and saying, that's me. Let me say that again. I think a lot of people have a difficult time looking in the mirror at their reflection and saying, that's me. I think this topic hit home, man. It's no doubt in my mind that the majority of people that pay attention, came from this whole culture we call hip hop, and at some point in time they used the phrase keeping it real. Since the beginning of the time into now, I like to think that, the term has lost value, it's lost, it's just lost a lot, man. It doesn't mean the same when we use it now. And I want to get into some of these comments, and I will elaborate a little more later down the line. But again, I just want to, commend our elders, because a lot of us learn from them, and it means a lot to be able to come into the community and see that they still accountable and still, want to help to lend to any type of positive energy that's going to help us grow, as a community, as individuals. And I just think it's dope. It's a good idea to be able to tell people, you appreciate them, and they not have to say it back, but they show you, and I think that's what this is. That's their way of showing us that they appreciate what we're doing. So let's get to these comments. And our first comment comes from Far Rockaway. It comes from our brother Akuze Simmons. I first just want to tip my hat to Akuze and say I appreciate the fact that when we first dropped this episode, he was sharing the episode with all his family and personal friends, and I thought that was dope, because this message has to get spread all over the world. We can't just sit here at this round table and talk about these things and then walk away and be done. We have to continue the dialogue and take it to other different cultures, other different genres of people, other different walks of life, and let them know what's going on. After all, they did want to know what was going on inside the hip-hop community and keeping it real, right? Let's give them what they're asking for, man. Kuze also left a comment. He said, TP, real is recognizing the essence of the almighty law, aka being in tune with what is needed for expansion of a greater tomorrow moment. Love can always be expanded on. I aim to be aware of how I'm choosing to be a part of the expansion of my natural role. We definitely appreciate your comment. I want to say toast to the town. If I could just elaborate, recognizing the essence of the almighty law. Basically, that's something that's universal. Law is the same all across the board, or at least it should be. And we're saying that, keeping it real should be something that everybody should be able to say and maintain a very similar way of life, a way of actions. You shouldn't be doing one thing and saying you keeping it real and they doing the total opposite and still be looked at as keeping it real. It's not balanced that way. Our next comment comes from Ill Bill Brown. He says, the young boys under us took the struggle for granted because when they seen brothers of our era coming up, they looked at the glitter not realizing that it was fool's gold. Facts. We appreciate your comment, Ill Bill, and just to elaborate on what he's saying. I think that he basically just saying, for that generation, us watching them coming up, all we saw was the material gain. We didn't really see the grind. And a lot of times that's the most important part, the grind. You don't understand what somebody else has gone through to get to what what they've accomplished or what they've attained in life. And so when you're looking at their accomplishments and you wanting to be in those shoes, it's almost like that old cliche, the grass is always green on the other side. You got to remember that grass still got to get watered no matter what. Our next comment comes from Pedro. He said, we were just talking about this. Great segment. I'm going to jump to what you said at the end. There's no such thing as keeping it real anymore. The term and the way of life has been diluted. These days, I'm simply focused on keeping it right. At the end of the day, it's always about right or wrong. Real is too easily based upon perception and misconstrued. I've done many things where I thought it was keeping it real, but I wasn't. Recently, I did what I thought was right and I lost love. What I did is probably viewed as not being real, but I know it was right. I could have kept it real and still have the love of my life, but then how real would that actually be? I'm basing everything on right these days. I'll say real for the rest. I want to commend Pedro for his comment because he made it personal. He shared that there was a situation in which he did what he thought was right as opposed to keeping it real, and he lost the love of his life. But at the end of the day, he's content with that because he knows in his heart that he did the right thing. So a lot of times, keeping it real might not be the right thing is what he's saying, man. We appreciate that comment, Pedro. Toast to the town. Elijah Davis, Master Chop, we call him in the hood. Keeping it real is a statement that is now being used to validate one's actions. Keeping it real to me is along the lines of you want for your brother or sister what you want for yourself. The statement is misconstrued now because of the following actions that take place. How do you keep it real when actions cause one to taint another person's positive actions? Keep it real means keeping it 100. Anything short of that, the deal. And that's true, If you're doing something that could potentially hurt somebody else or take away from somebody's reputation or their image, and how is that keeping it real? Especially if that's your brother, your sister, somebody from your community. You should want for everybody in your community what you want for yourself, for your son or your daughter, man. Take a village to raise a child, man. I'm trying to tell you. The next comment comes from Kenneth Bazemore. He said, I put up a post I thought I was off task with. What I was thinking, but here it go again. Keeping it real. Are you guiding, or are you sliding? Are you staying? Or are you saying anything to the youth when you see them? When they do anything wrong, are you letting them know? He said, because they are not family, what you want for you, you should want for others. And when you talk to them, y'all can't start conversation when you talk at them. Then you will be ignored or challenged. Let's remember where we come from. It take a village to raise a child. I want to just touch on where you said when you talk at them, you will be ignored. And that's so true. As we sit in here and we communicate with one another, let's take the time to speak to each other and not speak at each other. Listen to what other people got to say. Pay attention and listen effectively to their comments, And if it don't apply, then let it fly. But don't chastise somebody for their opinion, you know what I'm saying? Because everybody had a different experience and maybe, express it a little bit different. My last and final comment comes from D-Lo of Gutter Life. He said, good build, TP. I think about that round table idea, and this is basically it. I think you on your way. I want to say thank you, D-Lo. Toast to the town, brother. And it's funny because me and D-Lo have been chopping it up for years. Always spoke about, one day being able to have a round table discussion where we could chop it up about issues that we played with in our inner city community. And look, we spoke it right into existence. As we wind down, I just want to leave y'all with this, man. Last time, one example or two examples that I gave is, one, you send your child to school and they getting bullied. You know what I'm saying? Do you teach them to fight back? Or do you teach them to inform an authority figure, teacher, and let them know what's going on? My second example was about brothers or sisters going away to jail and telling them and coming back. And they're in the community and you spend time, hang out with them, still call them your friend. You know what I'm saying? When you look at these two situations, I don't want you to think about what society will want you to do. I want you to think about what feels good in your heart. What will allow you to sleep at night and wake up in the morning and look in the mirror and say, that's me. If you can't do that, then you're not keeping it real. I personally think we should do away with keeping it real. Let's keep it right. Let's keep it true. You know what I'm saying? Let's keep it 100. Let's keep it the way you want it for everybody else to be. And this is T. Paris, man. Toast to the town. Peace, perspective. Peace.